Knesset Member Amir Ohana is a former member of the Shin Bet and currently serves in the government as part of the Likud party. We have the pleasure of having him in the studio with us today to discuss this weekend's controversial events. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
So we see that this wave of terror is continuing in Israel and it doesn't seem to be stopping. Attacks are even happening in central Israel as well. Why isn't it ending?
Well, the terror attacks did not begin 4 months ago. They did not even begin at 1967 or 1948. We are facing an Arab terror that is more than 100 years old here in Israel, when the Arabs did not accept the fact that we as Jews came back to our home, to our land of Israel. We have ups and downs with the terror. Now is, of course, a bad time. But we knew worse time before, and we were strong, and we should be strong and face this terror the same way. We should fight it, and we should fight everyone who supports it. And the three MKs, Zhalka, Zoabi, and Ratas, demonstrated that they are on the side of terror.
So I want to get into that a little bit more later, but as a member of Likud, do you think that the government is doing enough right now to combat the current terror?
Yeah, the government has done things that have never been done before, like taking the Islamic movement out of the law and filing indictments for incitement in the net, which is something we have seen very much recently. The government, for my view, should allow more and more citizens to carry weapons, which is something that in Israel, not everyone knows, is very, very difficult. In the United States, just for example, 100% of the citizens have weapons. Of course, one has 5 weapons and 5 others has none at all. But statistically, we're talking about 100% of carrying weapons. In Israel, it's between 2 to 4%. So we are not anywhere near the United States. What we should do is that every Israeli citizen who has no criminal records, with no medical situation that could prevent him from carrying a firearm, and who serves in the reserve army, which means that they get a weapon from the state for 30 days each year, and the state says, come on, guard the state. These kind of people cannot get license for firearms, which is wrong, I think, because we are facing a very harsh situation where we need the help of these citizens to protect themselves and the environment. We know that we cannot have a police squad in every street corner.
So what do you say to the critics that say allowing more guns on the streets is actually going to promote more violence in the end?
It could prevent more violence, because we are facing violence, we are facing terror. People are being stabbed and shot in the land of Israel, but our citizens, the law-keeping citizens, cannot protect themselves properly. And this is why I think we should support my idea, and this is what I'm going to do, one of the things I'm going to do in the Knesset.
In this legislation, how are you ensuring that people who have access to guns know how to use them correctly and are, mentally stable and aren't going to use them for the wrong reasons?
It's very important. It's very important. Actually, today, people who carry firearms, who have license to carry firearms, need to train only once every 3 years. So my idea would be to triple the training, at least for once a year, which will make them more trained. As well as I said before, I want people who get license for firearms are those people who serve in the army, so they know how to use weapons, they know how to respect weapons and how to be cautious with weapons, because it is very important to prevent accidents and criminal activities that could happen with weapons. But we need to remember, we are facing a situation that the United States or no other place on earth faces with this terror. and we should fight it.
So let's go back to what you were talking about before with the 3 Arab Israeli lawmakers. We saw that over the weekend, 3 of these lawmakers actually went to visit the families of terrorists, and the Israeli government was outraged. Why did this happen? Can you explain this to us?
Yes. When you come to visit a terrorist family, and when you stand out of respect for the terrorist, this is incitement. This is something that we call supporting terror. And by the Israeli law, by the Israeli basic law of the Knesset, a party or a nominee for the Knesset who supports terror cannot serve in the Knesset. And this is why we are outraged. We are all trying, left and right, by the way, we're all trying to fight terror. We are trying to keep the flames down. And this is not a matter of right or left. It's a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of, do you support terror or do you oppose terror? And this is why MK Ksenia Svetlova from the Zionist camp, which is the left party, the left major party of Israel, and myself as a member of Likud, which is the largest right-wing party, filed a complaint to the Ethics Committee together. We were the first one to do it, and I'm glad to see that other MKs did it as well, to show that it is not a partisan matter. It's not a matter of right or left. It's a matter of a wide consensus in Israel. We should fight terror, we should condemn terror, and surely we should not support it.
But does the government have the ability to punish these lawmakers for visiting these families?
Actually, we have done so before, because as I said, by the Knesset basic law, those kind of people cannot be nominated for the Knesset, cannot serve there. But as soon as the Knesset done it, they filed for the Supreme Court, which overruled their decision. So I think it was a mistake when it was done before, and I hope by the next elections, when we will try again to prevent them from running to the Knesset, I hope the Supreme Court for this time will realize that these kind of people who support terror does not belong to the Knesset. However, I can find one good reason or one good benefit from their being in the Knesset, so that the Israeli people would know who we are facing. These people were not voted by the Swedes or the Norwegians. They were voted to the Knesset by Israeli Arabs. And the voice that they are, that we hear from them is a voice that is being heard and that exists with some, not all, of course not all, but some of the Israeli Arab population, and it's important that we realize that.
So, changing topics for a second, you're Israel's first openly gay lawmaker in the Likud party, and it obviously wasn't easy to get there. How has this shaped your political career and your rise in the Likud party? People here don't seem to understand how you can have this identity and also serve in a conservative party.
Well, I think in Israel, unlike anywhere else in the world, when you're talking about right and left, you primarily talk about where do you stand on the Israeli-Arab conflict. When you talk about it in the world, you talk about right and left, you talk about social issues, economy issues, but here we have a very, very unique situation. And the first thing is, where do you stand on the Israeli-Arab conflict? When do you stand on the security issues? Where do you stand? And this is why I think there is no contradiction between being a right-wing supporter and even a hawkish right-wing supporter, and yet support not only LGBT rights, but human rights in general. So in 2011, myself and some Likud colleagues, Likud friends of mine, raised our caucus, our LGBT caucus. And now, 5 years later, it is not only the biggest caucus, but it's also the most influential one, more than the left-wing caucuses who exist for much longer. Because, first of all, we are working from the ruling party of Israel, the very center consensus of Israel. And second, we are in the coalition. I'm the first openly gay member of any coalition in Israel. So I hope we can promote LGBT rights as well as keeping the safety of the citizens of Israel without any contradiction between the two.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what you do as part of Likud, and hopefully we'll have you back here again.
Thank you so much, Natasha. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for coming in.